How would you like to have a $73,000 travel budget? Oh my gosh. Well, apparently if you're the director of the state's economic development wizard, you are going to be staying in style, not just traveling a lot, but traveling first class, 5-star hotels. We're going to talk about that on today's program. We're also going to talk about corporate profits way up. Yeah, what a coincidence. And we're going to talk more about this horrific situation with the dog attack. Lolo Jones and her new Hercules power. We're going to talk about Harkin going on the maybe the wrong side of President Obama on a proposed nominee. We're going to talk a little bit about the horrific fire in Bangladesh. And we'll probably throw some climate change into the mix as well, folks. So we got a lot on the agenda today here on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan-baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
I'm a burrito.
I'm a fighting burrito, full of fresh ingredients prepared before your very eyes.
I don't have eyes.
I have over 28 options and 268 million combinations, including Rizo for vegetarians.
I can take my meat off and call myself vegetarian.
Put that back on. The Fighting Burrito is locally owned.
I'm owned by some big corporation somewhere. Say, you want to go on a date?
No thanks. I'm seeing a quesadilla.
The Fighting Burrito online, fightingburrito.com. Join the fight.
This is Dr. Holding, the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
Local farms, global flavor. That's the secret to Hawk's growing popularity. The best meals begin with the best ingredients, and 90% of Hawk's ingredients come from local farms. In addition to seasonal fruits and vegetables, Hawk features grass-fed beef and lamb, and pasture-raised chicken and duck, all raised without hormones, steroids, or cages. The coffee is fair trade, locally roasted, and Hawk's House liquors come from right here in Iowa. Hawk's owners go the extra mile, composting organic waste and recycling. For more information or to make reservations, visit hawktable.com. That's HOQ table.com.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
The 8th Annual Natural Living Expo is May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The Natural Living Expo is the place to learn about sustainable practices and healthy lifestyle choices. The expo offers classes and vendors where you'll learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, and more. There's no cost to attend, and what you'll come away with is priceless. For more information, visit www.naturallivingexpo.org. That's www.naturallivingexpo.org.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome to the Fallon Forum, and that's Brother Trucker's Tune kicking us off here. The conversation today, well, we got a lot of ground to cover. Lolo Jones. You know, she's always got something to say, and now she's describing her newfound strength, compliments of the intensive bobsled training she did. She's describing herself as Hercules strong. And I know some people are just like groaning and moaning about that and just thinking, oh, what an egotistical person. I wish she'd just get over herself. But you know what? I think in sports, it's okay to have a personality and an edge and to be a little bit cool and interesting and odd and maybe even call yourself Hercules once in a while. I mean, sports, it's nice to have really mellow sports heroes like Zach Johnson or like John Lester and Clay Buchholz. I mean, between the two of them, they've won 9 of the 15 Red Sox victories this year. They're both pretty low-key, pretty humble. But then you got Big Papi, and of course, who can forget Manny Ramirez? So it's okay to have a few folks like Lolo Jones who are, a bit edgy, a bit maybe... maybe they come off as full of themselves, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. She's had a rough go of it. She did something. I mean, you don't hear anybody doing that, going from being a hurdler to being a bobsled person. I think it's pretty cool. And, if she wants to call herself Hercules based on the new muscle group she's discovered in the process of training for it, more power to her, and good luck at the Drake Relays. We'll see how that goes. All right, Tom Harkin. I always love it when a partisan politician steps off the reservation. I just think that's kind of cool because it doesn't happen too often. Well, here it is. Tom Harkin stepping off the Democratic reservation. It's not often that you get a sitting U.S. Senator challenging a president of the same party. That does not happen too often. Harkin apparently is frustrated with President Obama's nomination of Marilyn Tavenner to oversee Medicaid and Medicare. And I don't know the details of Marilyn Tavenner at all. I have no idea about her background. I have not had a chance to research that. But the issue is that some of the Medicaid services money that was approved in the Affordable Care Act deliberations has been diverted to pay for the federal health insurance exchange program. That basically means money that was supposed to go toward prevention and wellness stuff is now going toward administering the establishment of these insurance exchanges. Now, again, we're going to wait and see how those insurance exchanges pan out. But from what I know, and again, I don't know enough, but from what I know, Harkin is right to be, laying down this challenge, because if that money is supposed to be for prevention and wellness, gosh, I can't think of a more important component of healthcare spending. So, from what I know, Tom, good job. I do have an email into his office about maybe getting him or somebody from his staff on this program. I've also contacted Jack Hatch, State Senator Jack Hatch, who has been on the show several times before, about his take on it. All right, so there is plenty more to talk about here. Again, the main course, I want to get into this conversation with about Debbie Durham, the head of the Economic Development Department, and the incredible travel budget she has incurred over the past year. Frankie Mink, I believe, is going to join us. We got Frankie in the studio? Okay. Frankie, come on in. Do not be shy. You can walk behind me if you want and wave to the entire planet Earth as you do. There it is, planet Earth. Waving to planet Earth. Okay, yeah. You and I are not on planet Earth. We're just admiring it from afar here. I do want to talk about one more thing, and this is deeply disturbing to me. Another garment factory fire in Bangladesh. I mean, I don't know how many times this has to happen. We get rightfully all frantic and bent out of shape when some crazy blows off 2 bombs, or 2 crazies blow off 2 bombs at the Boston Marathon, killing 3 people. It's becoming par for the course that these garment fires occur despite clear and convincing evidence that they are failed, that they're not. I mean, in this particular one, the deep cracks were visible in the walls of this factory, and police felt compelled to order it to be evacuated a day before it collapsed. Well, that didn't happen, of course. The company ignored that, and 2,000 people working in this factory. The company ignores an order from the police. 275 people were killed. Again, it wasn't a fire in this case. I misspoke. This was not a fire. It was a building that collapsed because of this huge crack. I mean, it is unconscionable that this is allowed to happen. And again, if you're buying cheap crap from Walmart or other companies that make stuff in Bangladesh, again, paying people horrible wages, horrible working conditions that in so many cases lead to fires or building collapses and incredible numbers of dead, you're part of the problem. I'm just going to lay it out there. Do not buy this cheap crap made in Bangladesh where people are working in these conditions. Just stop, okay? Don't do it. Because there's no doubt about it, if you are supporting that economy, then gosh, we all take some culpability in these kind of disasters. And I know that in some places, some areas, it's impossible to find what you need. But actually, the operative word should be almost impossible. And so, if this is the alternative, this kind of guilt on our collective consciousness, let's do something about it and make sure that we're changing our shopping habits accordingly. Okay, Frankie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for asking me to come on.
Frankie Meg, folks, and if you don't know Frankie, you should. He's one of the most interesting, colorful characters in Des Moines.
Thanks.
And it's not because you're a Philadelphia Eagles or Philadelphia Flyers fan.
Right.
I mean,
I'm an Eagles fan too.
Okay, yeah, but the Flyers, I didn't even know where you guys are at right now.
We're not making the playoffs.
Yeah,
Next week, tomorrow is our last game.
I'm a little sad for you, but I'll get over it.
I got the Ducks. I root for the Ducks too.
The Ducks?
So I used to work for the Ducks and have a lot of great friends on the team.
Can't talk into rooting for the Bruins this time around?
No, never. I'm Bruins. I'm more anti-Bruins than I am Penguins than I am the Rangers. I don't like the Bruins. I don't like their announcers. I don't like the whole organization. Be gone with them. So.
Well, they were pretty cool years ago when they had Bobby Orr.
Yeah, no.
Okay, right.
Anyway. I'm a huge hockey fan, so I don't.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, and I'm not really a hockey fan. I'm just pretending to be for a couple minutes.
There you go.
All right. So hey, I want to get to your take on some of the breaking stories that are relevant to your work. But you've got a documentary.
Yes.
And I get so wrapped up with so many things. I can't remember. Is it out or almost out?
It's almost out.
Almost out.
Yeah, we're retouching it up. We have a couple more interviews to do for the documentary, and we're shopping it around to some of the bigger film companies to maybe distribute for us. So,
all right. So when will that happen?
In the movie world, who knows?
Well,
let's talk. The great motto in Los Angeles. Let's have a meeting to plan a meeting to talk about a meeting next week. So
that's not just Los Angeles. That could be the Iowa State House.
Yeah, it's nerve wracking, but we have to finish our end of it, and which our end is we have to do a couple more interviews, and then we will be done. So, but we've done all the meat and potatoes I want, and I lived and shared dinner and conversations with people of all faiths and religions, coming from my background of being, a neo-Nazi.
Yeah, and just in case people don't know your story, you were a neo-Nazi in Philadelphia. You were busting heads.
Yeah.
You went to prison. Not just jail, prison.
Prison.
You got out, and it totally turned over a new leaf. And at first you were inclined to bring yourself back to, you jumped into the Christian, the kind of the evangelical Christian perspective, I believe.
Right, of the neo-Nazi world, yes.
Yeah, and now you've kind of done a complete turnaround and see, and this film, I should say, is about the diversity of faith and the importance of acceptance and of understanding the value that all traditions bring to the conversations we have about religion and
yes,
faith.
And what I mean, the commonality that we have. But also there's some controversy. We have men who are standing on pulpits in South Carolina and probably even in Iowa, I'm sure who are screaming that we should put all the gays behind fences and just let them die off.
Is that still happening? You still have pastors that are preaching that.
That's
from
on
the pulpit?
YouTube. That's like last year a guy did that. Yeah. Then you had another.
What did he say? He said we should put all the gays and lesbians behind bars,
behind the fences,
in concentration camps.
Yeah, in concentration camps.
Good.
And let them starve themselves out. Because obviously there won't be any more gay people once that happens, because only gay people have gay children, I guess. So that's his theory. And so so he figured, and he said this from the pulpit, and people cheered him. And then there was another little kid in Indiana who sang a song called Ain't No Homos Going to Heaven. And that was just about last year, maybe a year and a half ago, a little boy. And the whole church jumped up and screamed and yay. And one guy's yelling out, that's my son, that's my son. Kids singing a song, no homos going to heaven. This isn't a regular Sunday church. This isn't what I used to go to the compounds and read with, military weapons in our hands.
Yeah.
These are, but they're saying the same exact stuff.
Yeah, and we're giving them a tax status where they can they can get away without paying paying taxes. All right, that's great. Yeah. So have you had any pushback already from the film? I mean, the film is a little edgy.
It's a little edgy.
You take on Bob Vanderplatz.
Yes.
And the family leader.
Yes.
Any pushback? Any criticism yet?
Just from the Christian right, who we've even given them some time to share in the story, and some of them have, and we have one more interview with a very strong Christian conservative minister, pastor, whatever he wants. But I don't want to just slam him, but he was one of the guys who put out in front of his church, "Gay is not okay." Remember that story?
I blogged about that. I went to the protest.
Yeah. So we're gonna have him on.
Oh, really?
On the documentary. He wants to be on, and
really,
yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of courage involved in that.
No, there is, but and my thing is, and I argue with my strong Christian conservative friends who every day just blog or Facebook or write things about gays. Like, how come they don't write stuff about Jews? Really, be honest. The Jews deny Christ. That's one of their biggest sins to them. Gays don't even deny, because they know that if they would blog about Jews the way they talk about gays, they would be considered a hate group. So they don't do it. Wow. They don't touch that right. water there.
Certain groups are now in the category of you cannot make fun of them, you cannot malign them. But God, it's still okay to get up in church and say no homos going to heaven. Remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the meat and potatoes of the documentary.
Yeah. So you're basically moving. You're kind of, other than all the meetings to decide how to finish this off. You're done. Your work is really done with this.
Yes. Seriously, we have 3 more interviews that we have lined up.
Okay.
The Mormons would the only. And I'm telling. We went to some of the, the different religions that you can think of. And everyone said, "Sure, we'll be part of this documentary." The only people that said it, they wouldn't. The Mormons.
And remember the name of the documentary again?
Is This Heaven?
Is This Heaven?
And it's on. There's clips of it on YouTube and a bunch of. Yeah. We have trailers and stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll try to find a trailer to share with people here in a minute. But what is the next project for you?
Next project, well, I'm doing a podcast like you, so that's going really well.
Right. That's once a week?
That's on Friday nights, once a week. Okay. Tonight we have a former Muslim extremist coming on who is now the leading expert in that field. He's actually constantly working with and for the FBI. And
will you be talking about the Boston bombings?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Muslim connection there is not as strong as it might be in some people's minds, but there is. I mean, this guy was the older brother was the
definitely
converted and radicalized Muslim.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about that right away and get that. He has a great message of peace and empathy, and so he's a good guy. So that's tonight at 8:00 Central Time on the same network as you.
Well, let's run a quick clip from Is This Heaven? This is the documentary that Frankie and Christian Day
is the director,
have produced that will soon be available, and hopefully it'll get a broad hearing because I think it's what I've learned of it, it's very compelling.
I decided to take this journey of faith and studying all faiths and religion. Even in my own backyard, I don't have to go all over the world to do this. We're America, and it's all here. And some people say it's a sin even to do that journey. I've heard it, and I don't believe that. I believe that God is okay with us going on this journey to see what else is out there, and hopefully find that at the heart of all of us, there's just humanity and being a human being.
They're going to say things like, this is all about fear and this is all about hate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not about fear and it's not about hate. This is about love and this is about truth.
So some of the places that you see, Fairfield, Iowa, that isn't considered a religion, but it's a very spiritual type of meditation. Also, we show there's that little building. It's a little white building with a dome on top.
That's the Hindu temple.
No. That was the Hindu temple is the really tall one.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the small little building. That is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's the oldest mosque. It's called Mother Mosque. Oldest mosque in North America right now.
Yeah. Wow. Here in Iowa. Yeah.
So we get to visit all these people and talk to them about, hate in their religion, love in their religion. How do you? We even get into it in case someone wants to watch. How do you convert? If someone wants to convert to your religion, and we even ask the Christian conservatives, if someone wants to convert, how do they? Because we want it to be a message that anyone can find any religion you want.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really important message because there are certainly extremists in the Muslim faith and in the Christian faith. And I even know of some extremists who subscribe to New Age philosophies. I just don't like anybody trying to tell me that their way of seeing the universe is better than mine.
Right.
And then again, using their views to take extreme positions that are hateful, hurtful, and damaging to others. That just is wrong on so many levels.
And that's what you get. That's when I remember. I remember being at these ministries where people would teach us when I was still part of the neo-Nazi world. And the funny thing is, we had some guys who were definitely not as full blown into it as the most of us, as I was, militant. But there was guys there who just strongly believed, but probably would never do anything. And when I used to hear them talk, is the same stuff I hear a lot coming now from the hardline Christian conservatives that are mainstream now.
Right.
And that's what scares me.
And they are mainstream, but I sense that they're becoming less so. That more and more people are moving beyond that narrow viewpoint. And maybe I'm optimistic. Maybe. I mean, usually when you've been involved with things for a long time, you're less optimistic. I'm still fairly optimistic, and I do think that overall there are more and more people moving away from that. I know plenty of young evangelical Christians who understand the importance of embracing immigrants, for example, who are not anti-gay, who understand the importance of working on climate change, who put that in the context of creation care.
Yes.
So, hopefully that, hopefully evangelical Christendom will continue to thrive and survive, but with a more accepting and tolerant, side to it as well.
I hope so. I mean, it has to. When I look and read into the hardline Christian conservatives that we have that are somewhat mainstream, guys that have regular radio shows, I think they're just the recycled South. I mean, if you take the rhetoric, you take the whole.
What do you mean by recycled South?
The recycled South of the Civil War. I've talked to these guys off camera, and a lot of them will say, well, I'm afraid that we're going to have another civil war, and it's going to be you versus us. And they say, well, you know what? There's 50 million babies dead. Who cares if a war starts now? I mean, that's their, it's an anti-abortion. I mean, these people have said this to me. But
is that a geographic thing? Is that specifically relevant? I mean, does describing it as a Southern phenomenon?
It's the American Christian right.
Okay, but is that specifically a Southern phenomenon?
No, this is here. This is here in Iowa.
Okay.
I talked to some of the Pennsylvania, Michigan. I talked to a guy who he's militia / just Christian conservative. But when we look at and let's get into this a little bit, the militias, because a lot of them are Christian conservatives now, especially northern Michigan. There's a Christian conservative militia. These people don't go out and practice fighting on their Saturday mornings, fighting Muslims. No, they practice fighting if the federal government should come for their guns.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting into.
Well, and a lot of conspiracy types are describing, for example, even the Boston bombings as being another step by the U.S. government, by the federal government, to try to institute one world government, eventually take away our guns and our rights, and I think we have to always be vigilant about freedom and about liberty, but to try to cloak these horrific acts of cruelty and violence as somehow coordinated by the federal government is pretty bizarre. But unfortunately, it does have a following. There are people who are very easily duped and easily willing to subscribe to those theories.
When you look at most of the people that join these groups, there's some type of hardship. There's people that have, if someone is like happy with their lives, just happy with their home life, happy with their job, they don't get into these type of things. And so what the Christian conservative, what the Islamic extremist people will say, well, that's because they just become sheep now. No, they just become human beings, and they know that just living on this planet and being a productive member of society is the best way to be.
Yeah.
And that's what they're not. That's what I see.
Well, Frankie, thanks so much for joining us. Frank Menk, folks, the one of the two producers of the documentary Is This Heaven, which will be available as soon as the bureaucrats in Los Angeles get done.
Right. And New York.
And New York. Those coastal bureaucrats,
Yes.
you know, what are we going to do about them? We got to work with them, I guess. Anyway, good luck, Frank.
Hey, thank you.
All right, folks, I want to thank Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club and Iowa Physicians for Social Responsibility for sponsoring the Fallon Forum. I want to remind folks about the upcoming Natural Living Expo. That's going to be at the 4-H building on the State Fairgrounds, May 18th and 19th. We're looking at 150 vendors who, again, can tell you about, green building standards, about various types of, various things you can do to live more healthy, about sustainable agriculture, about organic food. There is a huge range of opportunity available, and the event is free. It's, again, Saturday and Sunday, May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building. There's more information on my website, www.fallonforum.com. I also want to thank Gateway Marketing Cafe for sponsoring this segment of our show. Delighted to be able to get to green drinks last night. I know that's not referencing mint juleps. It's have a beverage, or in my case, a beverage and a meal, while you're discussing with others various environmental issues, alternative energy, or as I prefer to call it renewable energy. So it's a good event, a great venue. And again, Gateway Market is not just open for supper, but for breakfast and lunch as well. And they have a fantastic grocery store. So check them out, folks. That's Gateway Market and Cafe at 20th and Woodland in Sherman Hill. I'll be back in a minute. When we do, we're going to talk about, I don't often get a chance to praise WHO TV 13, but I think they did a great expose on the ridiculous amount of money being spent on travel by the head of Iowa's Economic Development Authority. Debbie Durham cashed out at over $73,000. Compliments of the Iowa taxpayers for travel next year. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 101 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait.
Howdy.
And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Mr. Babers, neighbors, folks, and welcome back to the conversation. I want to thank Community CPA and Associates and Fighting Burrito for sponsoring this segment of our show. And just to continue a theme that we talk about a lot on here. The first quarter of reporting for business profits is over. And, it looks like some of the big boys did really, really well. Principal's earnings were up 8.4% in the last quarter. Understand this is in a 3-month period. Your earnings are up 8.4%. Anybody else, tuning into the show, seen their income grow 8.4% in the past 3 months? How about growing 8.4% in the past year? What about the past 10 years? But you can be sure that inflation has gone up a lot more than that in the past 10 years. What are they saying that I can't remember the figures now, but tuition at college universities, if you look at the last 30 years, up 700+%. I mean, people, we can't sustain. You can't continue to pay for the basics of life when these kind of costs are coming at you, these kind of increases. Well, except if you are a corporation. Again, congratulations to Principal for their 8.4% hike. Again, the credit for that increase goes to improved sales, whatever that means, their latest acquisition, and the one I like the most, higher fees. So congratulations to all of you who are now paying higher fees and helping Principal achieve its 8.4% profit increase. Okay, this is all on one page of the paper today. Meredith, in their first quarter, up 39%. Oh, how juicy is that? 39%. Anyway, again, and this isn't unusual. All right, West Bank, their stock is up 64 cents year to date. Not bad. 64 cents per share. The company's loan portfolio expanded 12% during the 3-month period ending March 31st. Now, I don't understand all the details of that, but it sounds pretty good, and it sounds a lot better than anything I've seen with my income, and I suspect you're in the same boat as well. Okay, 2 more. This is all in one sheet of paper today. Cabela's. This takes it all, folks. Profit up 73% in the first quarter. And compliments again of guns and ammunition sales. Well, no surprise there, I guess. But 73% increase. Now, I wonder if the small locally owned businesses that deal with the same, kind of a product line that Cabela's does have seen the same, the same success. I seriously doubt it. In fact, I bet a lot of them are no longer in business because you get Cabela's, you get Bass Pro coming in, and they land subsidies. Again, make no doubt about it. The Cabela's in Western Iowa and the Bass Pro Shop here in Central Iowa both receive taxpayer handouts to locate in Iowa. But the Second Avenue Bait Shop, the other little places that sell fishing reels and whatnot, they aren't getting taxpayer handouts. So yeah, of course, they're not going to see a 73% profit increase. Okay, one more. ExxonMobil Corporation. Sad situation for ExxonMobil. I want to say Exile. ExxonMobil, they managed to increase their earnings only slightly in the first quarter. And that came mostly because of growth in their chemical business and, get this, lower taxes. So, yeah, they did see a slight increase, and we get some of the credit because of that. So pat yourselves on the backs, folks, and compliment your elected officials on helping to make sure that ExxonMobil had lower taxes and thus were able to sustain at least a slight increase in their first quarter profit margin. All right. You know, and why are these corporations doing so well? Well, they've got a champion or two here in Iowa. Terry Branstad is certainly a champion of big corporate interests, as is Deb Durham. Again, Facebook getting $35 million in public money so far. Maybe they'll get more over time. They're getting $35 million to locate in Altoona. They're putting a data center in Altoona. And you look at, again, Facebook's other data centers where they had at least 2,500 construction jobs, 2,000 construction jobs in another case. Here in Iowa, we're looking at only 250 construction jobs and only 31 actual jobs once the center is finished. $35 million for 31 permanent jobs. I'm going to say that I don't want these people negotiating for me on anything in my life. Unfortunately, they're negotiating with my money, with your money, and they're doing it in private. I mean, we didn't know anything about this. It just kind of boom sprung on us this week. Hey, here we have, deal sealed. You know, Facebook gets a bundle of money and they bring us, 31 jobs. Okay. So Debbie Durham writes this column about it. And again, I was shocked at how disingenuous some of it was. And even more shocking was the story that came out on Channel 13. You got to take a look at this, folks. Ryan, reel this one, will you?
Of Iowa, not internationally.
But when Iowa's economic development director does take a trip overseas, she might spend more on that one trip than you spend on travel in an entire year. First-class plane tickets, 5-star hotels, a private tour of an Italian monastery. It sounds like a dream vacation.
But for Iowa's Director of Economic Development, it's just another day on the job. It's a job that she likens to one in sales, and it's one with a big expense account. Sonia Heitzusen has the story. It's a Channel 13 News investigation.
There's no doubt you spend a lot of time on the road and in the air if you're Iowa's Economic Development Director. The current director, Debbie Durham, spent more than $73,000 on travel between July 1st of 2011 and June 30th of 2012. That's more than most Iowans make in a year. Durham traveled around the state and across the country. She visited Washington, D.C., South Carolina, New York City, but she really racked up the frequent flyer miles on her international trips. In June of 2011, Durham traveled to South Korea, China, and Japan. The trip cost more than $12,000. 3 months later, Durham returned to China. That trip cost more than $13,000. The plane ticket alone was more than $12,000. On both trips, she stayed at hotels that, according to their websites, offer 5-star luxury accommodations. But the trip that really caught our eye went to Europe in November of 2011. According to state records, the purpose of the trip...
Okay, now I want to come back to that trip to Europe, but because that truly is incredible. But it's just amazing to me what we've seen so far. Again, I run into congressmen at the airport. I ran into Bruce Braley the other day. I ran into Tom Latham a while back. You know, they aren't traveling first class. Maybe they're staying at luxury hotels. I don't know, but it's just remarkable to me that they feel they can get away with this. Ryan, are we able to go back to where we left off? And again, it gets worse. This European trip, this so-called conference in a city in Germany that really never happened. Check it out.
2011. According to state records, the purpose of the trip was to meet with a number of companies at the Agritechnica conference in Hanover, Germany. That conference was held November 15th through the 19th. But take a look at receipts Durham submitted for reimbursement. Durham flew into Frankfurt on the 13th of November, stayed the night, and then traveled to Munich the following day. After a night in Munich, Durham skipped from Florence to Paris to Bilbao. She was in Barcelona from the 17th through the 19th. And remember, the purpose of that trip was to attend a conference in Hanover.
To the conference in Hanover. You'll have to go through the receipts with Tina. I'm not sure. I can barely remember what I did yesterday, let alone a year ago.
Durham staff told us on multiple occasions she was too busy to sit down for a formal interview, so we caught up with her at a board meeting. She couldn't remember if she attended the conference in Hanover, but she did recall her whirlwind tour of Italy, France, and Spain.
When we went to Barcelona, we went over to the call in a company called Hipra, which made an investment at Iowa State. I think Paris I was just flying in and out of. I don't think I spent any time in Paris.
The European trip cost taxpayers nearly $13,000. The biggest expense? The plane ticket. Perhaps because Durham flew first class during portions of the trip.
We don't fly first class.
Your tickets show that you flew first class.
You can look at the tickets. All of our tickets are business class only. Overseas, first. We have never flown first. I don't know what ticket that is.
This is the ticket. According to it, Durham flew first class on 4 legs of the trip. Her spokesperson later told us Durham was upgraded.
You know, my job is sales, and we have results to show for it.
Iowa's Economic Development Authority claims Durham's approximate $75,000 in travel expenses resulted in $2.6 billion in capital investments. In other words, for every dollar spent on Durham's travel, $35,000 was invested in Iowa. As for the return on investment for the European trip, a spokesperson says 7 projects were identified that collectively could result in the creation of 400 jobs and $60 million in capital investment. We're still waiting for the formula used to calculate those numbers. And to date, the state can't tell us if Durham actually closed the deal on any of those European sales calls. Now, Iowa Economic Development Authority did email us this afternoon and said 2 projects had been funded as a result of the Europe trip. They're expected to create about 65 jobs. Now, we also compared Durham's travel expenses to the last 2 Iowa directors of economic development. The most Michael Tramontino spent on travel was about $30,000. Michael Bluen spent about $45,000 on travel one year. We also compared another state's economic director's travel expenses. Nebraska's economic development director, Catherine Lang, says she spent roughly $9,000 in fiscal year 2012. She also told us she is only allowed to fly economy, even when flying overseas. And when she flew to China in March, she says her plane ticket cost a little more than $1,700.
So, Sonia, getting back to the European trip that Durham took with the purpose of attending that conference in Hanover, did anyone attend it?
There was another economic development employee who went on the same trip. She was in Hanover the first day of that conference, but then joined Durham in Spain after that. We're still going through some of her travel records.
And out of curiosity, who approves all of this?
For department directors, the governor's office, specifically the governor's chief of staff, approves those travel requests, and we're waiting to hear from him about this as well.
Okay, we'll have more from you then. Thanks, Sonia.
Well, I'm just loving that. I mean, the buck stops where? At Governor Branstad's office. We're going to talk. I want to talk a little bit about this with Heather Ryan when she joins us in the final segment. We're also going to talk about the dangerous dog. Apparently, that's a, quote, pet issue for Heather. But I do want to thank Community CPA and Associates for sponsoring this segment of our show. Again, we're beyond tax season, except if you're still working on your state taxes. But give Ying Sa a shout, because she can help you not just with your taxes, but any accounting issues as well. Give her a shout at 288-3188. That's 288-3188. And hey, folks, how about lunch and or dinner at Fighting Burrito? Fighting Burrito is on 13th, just south of Locust Street in downtown Des Moines. And they're open for breakfast, for lunch and supper 7 days a week. Now, you know, there are a handful of local businesses that support this program, and I'm very grateful for that. The difference between me and Governor Branstad's approach to economic development is like the difference between night and day. I focus on small, local, and, you know, well, we're going to talk more about this because my travel budget is pretty embarrassing compared to what Debbie Durham spends. In fact, my bicycle hardly costs anything at all. We'll be back in a few minutes. Heather Ryan is going to join us here on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
The 8th Annual Natural Living Expo is May 18th and 19th at the 4-H building at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. The Natural Living Expo is the place to learn about sustainable practices and healthy lifestyle choices. The expo offers classes and vendors where you'll learn about green building design, sustainable agriculture, urban farming, non-toxic cleaning products, massage, and more. There's no cost to attend, and what you'll come away with is priceless. For more information, visit www.naturallivingexpo.org. That's www.naturallivingexpo.org.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant, Bar, and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines, and check out ritualcafe.com.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Max Wellman, folks, back to our conversation. I want to thank Story County Veterinary Clinic and Tinker Heating and Cooling for sponsoring this segment of our show. Well, Debbie Durham, Governor Branstad, you know, if Democrats can't find somebody to beat this guy, I mean, between what he's doing on Medicaid, the corporate welfare stuff, the condescending attitude toward anybody who's at all poor, the lack of any ability to work in a partisan way,
not even just poor folks, just anybody who's not rich. You don't even necessarily have to be poor for him to have a condescending attitude towards you. But, from what I understand, there's some recent polling that shows him trailing a generic Democrat. So if we can get a decent Democrat or liberal, my preference, to run against him, apparently the polling is showing that he is beatable, which is unbelievable because I never thought
because he's never been beatable. I mean, the closest anybody came was Gopher, Fred Grandy, in a Republican primary years ago. That's the closest anybody's ever come to beating Branstad.
Yeah, and the fact that he's beatable by a generic Democrat at this point is astounding and exciting.
Well, I wish I was still a Democrat. I became an independent anyway. But, I certainly, I would love to see him get a primary challenge. Because
I can't see it happening, but okay.
There's a very, very there's the theocratic wing of the party that really wants to impose their faith and religion on the rest of us, and then there is the corporate wing, the folks that they aren't for less government, they aren't for the free market. They're for turning government into a feeding trough for a handful of big corporate players, and we're seeing that every single day.
Absolutely, played out every day in the Republican Party.
But why not? I mean, isn't there Republican and a wing of the Republican Party, or at least an element that understands the free market, that is truly for less government, and is not for cramming a religious agenda down our throats? I think there is.
If there is, they're just not very vocal.
Well, yeah, there are.
And they're being drowned out. And they should be upset because they are being represented by a bunch of nutbags, and that's what we consider the Republican Party now.
And it's too bad because I don't think it's. I mean, I'm a big believer in multiple parties. I'd love to see, not just a truly progressive and populist Democratic Party, but a Republican Party that is reasonable. I'd love to see Libertarian Party that, at least adds its voice to the conversation.
You know what? We should go on a nationwide search for people to bring into those parties, and we should do it on the government dime. Because flying first class is absolutely the way to go. And with that kind of budget for travel, I could stay at some 4 or 5 star restaurants and be perfectly happy.
You're going to stay at a 4 or 5 star restaurant?
Yes.
I mean, you and dine there and then stay at a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
what
if you
meant.
really drink way too much and you collapse on the table, maybe they'll just leave you there all
If
night.
it's good enough, I'll just continue eating until I pass out.
Right.
But no, I'm just being facetious about the budget for Governor Branstad's economic development.
Well, gosh, he ought to get a primary opponent.
He should. He won't, but he should.
He won't. And if he did, it would probably be from the theocratic wing of the party. And then, in that case, what do you want? The theocratic wing or the corporate wing?
Neither. I want a Democrat.
Well,
Neither.
yeah, but I mean, a true, less government, free market Republican, that would be an interesting thing to see for a change. But you're right. That's not a very prominent, element of the Republican Party anymore.
I know.
So on the Democratic side, who's going to challenge this guy?
I don't know. I'm completely at a loss for it's one thing to say that a generic Democrat could beat him. It's another thing to say which generic Democrat, because once you put a name and a face, the wheels are turning.
Then it's no longer a generic Democrat.
It's no longer generic, and then you've got baggage that comes along with it, and then the wheels of negative politics starts.
Yeah. Well,
So,
Jack Hatch is mentioned as a possibility.
definitely a good possibility. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's not more names mentioned more often.
Why?
Well, because I mean, given all the crazy things that Branstad's doing, I served with him for quite a while.
Yes.
And he was never this bad. He was never this horrible.
I agree.
He's so much worse than he ever was.
As our governor, and then now he's the governor again.
He wasn't great, but this is like incredible.
Yeah, he's like the devil. He's turned into Satan in his old age. It must be
Maybe a
that
little
pension
strong.
that he gets in addition to his salary. It makes him turn into the
yeah.
devil.
You get the pension from the first term, and you're getting the salary from the second one.
That's the bum diggity. That's the way to go. If you're gonna,
I wonder what his travel budget looks like.
that'd be interesting to know.
So and here you think about all the things that have happened through the Economic Development Authority in the past year. Orascom, $251 million in public subsidies for one Egyptian fertilizer company that apparently has legal battles going on relevant to questionable behavior at the federal level that now refuse to share with us, the public, what they would do in the case of a explosion of fire like we saw down in West Texas.
Right.
They aren't even willing to talk with us.
Some governors, like the Indiana governor, are saying that they want to classify fertilizer as not even toxic or hazardous. So I have to wonder how far behind Terry Branstad is behind doing the same thing.
Yeah. Hey, well, let's switch gears, Heather. You're an East Side gal from way back.
I am, and still am.
I think there is a local ordinance in Des Moines that if you live on the East Side, you have to own a dog.
Preferably a pit bull or Rottweiler. that seems to be the consensus in my neighborhood.
Well, we have obviously a lot of genuine sadness and concern over what happened in Prairie City.
Right.
But this is not unusual. I was looking at the number of dog bite cases in just Ankeny last year, or this is 2011 rather, 38 dog bite cases in one town. This is not an infrequent occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not anti-dog at all, but I'm anti-bad dog.
I am too. I thought we were going to disagree on this, but
Oh, really?
I love
You
dogs.
thought I was pro-bad dog?
I did.
Well, that would make you silly.
No, I love animals. I am an animal. I'm one of those dorks that talks like baby talk to animals. That's me.
Can you do an imitation for us?
Oh, you got the baby. I love him so much. He's so cute.
Oh, that's enough. Stop. No more.
You asked for
all
it.
All right, but I didn't want to lie.
But when it comes to vicious animals that by nature are animal, they are vicious attack dogs, fighting dogs, whatever. That's just a different story altogether. And you have the owners that are like, I don't know what happened until it ate the baby. I thought it was a good dog.
Well, and that's what in this story, this owner is saying, I'm shocked. I've never seen this happen. But then you look at the example that someone else, describes this dog running at them, attacking them, having to jump in her car to get away. So it's not like this dog had never done anything nasty.
And I'm sure that she was in denial. Oh, you probably provoked it. Oh, you probably ran because you were throwing stuff. I'm sure that she was in denial and she knew about it. She just didn't want to admit it, that her dog is a ferocious animal.
Yeah. Well, owners tend to be in denial about their, I mean, you always think that your kid, your pet, those who are closest to you are always going to behave correctly or appropriately. Yeah. Somehow I'm reminded of the scene from the Peter Sellers film about the dog. Does your dog bite? No. Then the dog attacks the guy. That is not my dog. But anyway, that's an aside. I shouldn't have even brought that up. But I like Peter Sellers. So what do we do about this?
I really believe that there need to be stricter regulations on ferocious animals. Do you mean breeds or just specific animals that act out? Entire breeds. Well, there are certain breeds that are specifically, by nature, they're just more aggressive.
Now, cities are moving away from that because it's hard to identify a breed that is consistently aggressive, or in some cases, even hard to identify a dog's breed because of mixed breeding and whatnot.
Right.
So what do you do then?
When you're in my neighborhood and you see all of the pit bulls and unlicensed Rottweilers and they're not registered.
Unlicensed Rottweilers?
These dogs are not registered the way they should be. They are not properly registered, and they're ferocious animals. And when you have to worry for your kids, is my kid's face going to be ripped off? That's not something that I should have to worry about. So,
have you had an incident, a specific?
Oh yeah, there are dogs running wild all over the place, and you always wonder. And they run up on you, and you're like, okay, is it going to bite my face off?
They're supposed to specifically attack West Siders and try to keep them out of the East
They're
Side.
supposed to be on the river, waiting for the West Siders to come
cross
over.
And then attack
That's
them
why
like
the West Siders don't come to our side. They're afraid of our pit bulls and Rottweilers. But I'm more afraid that my kids are going to be eaten by them.
Yeah, and you've been a lifelong East Sider, except for the time that you were sentenced to go to Kentucky and run for the
well, I've lived all over the
US
country,
Congress.
but
Okay.
I always come back. So
Yeah.
I lived in D.C. and I was in San Diego when I was stationed there. And so I lived all over, but I do come back to the East
So
Side.
do you really think we could do something specific to breeds that would be effective and enforceable?
Absolutely. We'll just ask Michael Vick what he would like to have as a dog, and we'll outlaw that one. That specific breed is what we'll go for.
Okay, well, but now, like you said, there are multiple breeds that have been implicated in deadly bite cases.
Yeah, I'm not a veterinarian. I don't know which ones are best, but certainly someone more wise than I can tell me which one is going to, chew off a baby's toes. So that is something that definitely needs to be taken into consideration. And we need to really protect kids and adults even. There was a case not so long ago in California where a woman was attacked by, I think, a bull mastiff or a couple of bull mastiffs and killed, mauled to death. They grabbed her jugular and the owners blamed her.
Well, yeah, Well, maybe that's the same mentality that blames a woman for being raped.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
here's
here's
the thing. You know
incredible.
What causes rapes? Rapists. That's what causes them. Not short skirts, not anything else. You know what causes these dogs to maul children to death? The dogs.
Yeah.
So, it is along the same lines.
And again, I don't know what the city of Des Moines is going to do about this. It'll be interesting to see what the city of Perry does about this. Prairie City. Although I know Perry has been having conversations as well. But again, cities are moving away from that breed specific ban to, and again, that creates its own complications. When you're trying to define what a dangerous animal is, you may be looking at the evidence after the fact. You may have to wait till something horrible happens before you can.
Right, until tragedy strikes. And I think that this is tragic. So certainly another look needs to be taken.
Here's what I don't get. We seem to have this thing about dogs where, again, people are allowed to own incredibly dangerous animals, even though we see incidents all the time. We ban exotic animals like monkeys and alligators and pythons in some cases. And I understand the wisdom of that. That doesn't not make sense to me. All right.
Uh-huh.
But what I don't understand is the cities that still outlaw chickens. 38 cases of a dog biting somebody in Ankeny last year. Not a single incident in Des Moines. And Des Moines had chickens. Des Moines is great on this. You're going to have legal chickens in Des Moines, and you haven't been able to for a long time. I don't know of a single incident where a chicken has ever attacked a kid or bitten somebody.
I don't know one either.
Except maybe a rooster, kept somebody awake at night. or gotten off its leash. I mean, it's just remarkable to me that we have this prejudice against useful animals.
You know
I
what
mean,
you
I'm
need?
not saying pets
Chickens
aren't.
need fluffier fur. If they had fluffier
Feathers.
fur, yeah, but the feathers aren't endearing.
so
They
you-
need to be cuddly. If we could make them a little more cuddly, I bet we could probably get
I'm
going
going
to
to bring a chicken into the studio some Friday when you're on the show, and we're going to.
We're going to cuddle up with the chicken.
We're going to show you what a chicken's all about.
If it was more cuddly, I bet people would be more accepting.
Yeah. So what do you? I mean, again, do you see anything happening with this issue?
No, not in the near future. Not as long as Terry Branstad's in charge. You know, when I was interning actually in the Senate, in the Iowa Senate, one piece of legislation was animal cruelty, and it made no headway until someone stapled a cat's head with a
Oh,
stapler.
gosh. Yeah.
And that's the only time.
That was in Fairfield, I think, wasn't it?
I think
Yeah.
you could be right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were in the House at the time when I
Yeah.
was an intern, and I actually wrote a paper on that for
Yeah.
my class. But only when something tragic happens is there going to be movement, but I don't necessarily see it while Terry Branstad is governor.
Well, Heather Ryan, folks, always a pleasure to have you with us. Heather Ryan, author of Ryan's Rants, among other things, and and in your other life, a pageant talent manager.
I know, it's
fascinating
crazy.
combination.
It's a weird combination.
Political activist, talent manager. Go
I know.
figure. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us.
I appreciate your time.
And thanks to Story County Veterinary Clinic for sponsoring this segment of our show. I would love to get Dr. Kim Holding's take on this conversation about what to do about dangerous dogs. She's been doing veterinary work for over 30 years. You should check out her business. She does sometimes make it to Des Moines as well. She's on Highway 30 just east of Ames. That's again Story County Veterinary Clinic. Check out their Facebook page for more information. Also, I want to thank Tinker Heating and Cooling. Again, it's that time of the year where we're moving from heating to cooling. So think about upgrading your air conditioning unit. Think about making sure your furnace is ready for its 6-month retirement. Give Leonard Tinker a shout at 371-2114. That's 371-2114. I want to thank Ryan Northfield for producing the show for me today. I want to thank Webcast One Live for providing the studio. I want to thank you, my audience, and we will be back on Monday.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.